Hello, welcome to Uphold. Today our guest is Sabrina, the head of payments and fintech at the Hbar Foundation. Welcome, Sabrina.
Hi, Martin. Thank you for having me.
You're calling us from Singapore, I hear.
That's
I think
right.
this is the farthest connection we've had for an audience that is very much also based in the United States. It's more than 12 hours, right? We're spanning the globe with this one. Sabrina, we just integrated, so Uphold just integrated Hbar, the chain, which means a move from tier 4 to tier 3. You can now send and receive your tokens, your Hbar tokens. This is the main reason why we are doing this. But that is not the only news that we have. We have a whole long list of things to discuss that happened at Hbar. But let's start with the basics. Hbar is not a blockchain. It's a graph. It's a hash graph. What is a hash graph when it's at home?
You're right. So we are a DLT, not a blockchain, right? So Hedera is built on the hashgraph consensus mechanism. So it's an innovation by Dr. Lehman Baird. So it's based on a gossip protocol. So I'm not going to go too technical, but essentially we're not using a block structure. And with that, that's allowing a lot more flexibility, a lot more speed. What's notable is it's also a leaderless network. You're not having nodes take turns to mint blocks or validate transactions. It's actually done automatically by an algorithm. If there's no leader, it's a lot harder to attack. So with that means superior security. We're asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerant, which is pretty much the highest level of security for a distributed system.
It's the ordering system we are talking about. It's not the ordering system of a blockchain where you have to wait for the next block to mint. It is a vector-based approach. Let's get to the long list that you've sent me of things we want to discuss. What's happening with Hbar this year alone? What has already happened? Let's start with that.
Yeah, I think I can dig a little bit in where we're coming from. What's the history? I think the original the network has been live, right, for almost 3 years. We're going on our 3rd anniversary. So since 2019, there's been a lot going on. Originally, we were focused around that consensus mechanism, and that was like the core stack. Since then, there's been a lot of developments. 2021, we launched a token service, so allowing to issue Hedera native tokens on the network. That allowed Hedera to move from an initial, I would say, enterprise-only focus to covering a lot more range. Then we started attracting startups to build, their token economies on Hedera. And that was the first evolution. And the second evolution, I would say there's been a lot of acceleration this year. Due to, for example, we upgraded our smart contracts. We became EVM compatible. That's unlocked a lot of use cases. For example, in the DeFi space, we were still pretty new to DeFi, but catching up relatively quickly. We are launching native staking. So this is in the process right now. That's been long awaited. And also JSON RPC relay is being developed right now, and that will allow us to have more MetaMask compatibility. So a lot of these developments are going in the direction of more compatibility, more interoperability with Ethereum. So with that's opening new use cases, and that's opening our ecosystem.
The native staking you're referring to, that's network functionality staking, right?
That's right, the network level.
Correct. And you mentioned that we were going away from an enterprise only. I mean, your board, is it the board, no, the foundation, that has quite a long list of very, very big, reputable company names in there.
Actually, not going away from enterprise, just expanding from there, because we're still covering. I mean, the idea of Hedera is to serve the most demanding use cases, and so that's typically the commercial grade ones. But if you can serve commercial grade use cases, you could do also, any kind of retail focused projects or And so with that, we're covering from enterprise, so things like supply chain, to into now DeFi, into NFTs, into metaverse, into sustainability. This is an area where we have a lot of growth, and into the fintech space, which is the area that I'm spending most of my time on.
You said the smart contracts have launched this week. Are there any applications that you can name from companies that are already using your smart contracts?
Yes, so we had smart contracts before, but they were
Native.
they were a little bit more difficult to use. Now what we've done is we've souped up Hyperledger, Bezu, and changed some of the data structure. Now we're getting to hundreds of TPS. So some of the DeFi, for example, protocols are using that. So we have a couple of DEXs. So one called Saucer Swap already live. We have another one called Heli Swap that's going to be launching this month. But smart contracts aren't actually necessary for us to do DeFi. So there's an interesting project called H Suite that's building on Hedera, doing DeFi without smart contracts. So because our network is very fast and very efficient, there are some workarounds that we don't need to do with smart contracts, so we can do some things at the native level as well.
You could do something akin to a state channel, right? In Constellation, the same principle of doing away with smart contracts. You are a bit of a latecomer to the DeFi space. So all of this happened this year, what you just described?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, of course, some teams have been building since last year, but in terms of seeing some good projects come to market, I would say it's definitely accelerated this year. And there's more in the pipeline that we're supporting at the Hbar Foundation.
You keep building just like one does in a very difficult market that we are facing now. Let's go back to the energy you mentioned. I think sustainability and energy use are apparently right now the topic to talk about, as we are moving from proof of work to proof of stake in Ethereum, and everyone's concerned about the cost of living crisis and the energy crisis. And I think it's the best time for you to come out and describe the sustainability aspect of Hedera.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big differentiating point for Hedera. We never really had that trade-off. So not using
You're carbon negative. How can you be carbon negative?
So first of all, we start by having a very, very low energy footprint. It actually takes less energy to process a transaction through Hedera than through a centralized network like Visa. So already compared to the other proof of stake networks, we're orders of magnitude more energy efficient. So that's research that's been published by University College London. And so whatever little energy we actually use, and I believe to run the network for a year is no more carbon than, say, the equivalent of 3 cars. That amount we actually offset by purchasing carbon offset credits.
Okay, are those trading on Hedera too? Do you have a carbon credit scheme on Hedera?
We have many carbon credits related projects on Hedera. So because of this energy efficiency, we do, and of course the network features, we attract a lot of sustainability related projects. So it could be carbon credits, it could be renewable energy credits. We've also made a lot of effort in building the tooling for those. So I'm thinking asset tokenization. We have a tokenization framework called the Guardian that builds in all the granularity and all the taxonomy that you need for a carbon credit or a renewable energy credit. As you may be aware, no 2 carbon credits are the same. You need to have a lot of data to back up whether the project is still live. What is the status? Are the trees still there? So with that Guardian framework, we're allowed to we're bringing quality to the ESG market. And of course, it's difficult to trade those carbon credits because they're like semi-fungible assets. So we're also working on building an automated market maker that was going to be also open source to allow for the trading of these semi-fungible assets and also for the price discovery. So really putting a lot of interesting building blocks there, and we have dozens of projects currently building, and some that are already live in that space.
If you're trading semi-fungible tokens, you would have to have a very complicated algorithm to handle that. It's not that easy, right?
Yeah, it's actually quite technical.
It must be.
Yeah, so you have to do some sort of regression there too. So the trader would have to enter the specificities that he's looking for, within which parameters you want to search for the asset, and that will create the algorithm will create a space within those parameters where the assets are actually matching, to simplify quickly.
So you are in charge of payments and fintech at Hedera. What was for you this year the most exciting development?
To me, so there's a lot going on in fintech and payments. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of activity in the asset tokenization space. I'm talking real world assets.
Yes.
So that's an area that I'm spending a lot of time on. I'm also one of.
Can you talk a little bit about specific use cases?
Yes, I mean, not one of this a real estate tokenization platform that hasn't been announced yet, that we're preparing PR on. We're also working with a commodities exchange. So there's a lot of things that we can tokenize. One that is relatively well known because it's been live for a couple of years is a project by our council member DLA Piper. It's called Toko, and this is an asset tokenization platform for high value assets. It could be funds, it could be real estate or other. So yeah, I'm working on getting more tooling there for security tokens. I think that's sorely needed, and I think it's still the beginning, right? You look at the market caps in terms of security tokens versus utility tokens. Still early, so I think we have a good chance to be the go-to platform there. Another area that I'm very excited about is stablecoins, CBDCs. So for stablecoins, we're making good inroads. We already have USDC integration.
But you're not making your own. Are you making your own stablecoin?
No, we're not. We are really focused on being a technology provider. We're building the stack so that others can use it and commercialize services. So the idea is to make it easy for startups or financial institutions to make their own stablecoin. So recently, the Australian bank ANZ announced that they were also making a stablecoin, an Australian dollar-backed stablecoin on Hedera. From my angle, fintech space, I'm focused more on the fiat-backed stablecoins. I think that's an area that's only going to strengthen going forward, especially after what happened this year in the stablecoin space. And it's getting more regulated as well. So now
I've been very concerned with stablecoins for the last 4 months. They've been there's this conflict for governments of how to embrace crypto and how to make it safe. So the European Union has their Euroc, also made by Circle, which is dominating the space, which I don't consider a good thing if one company dominates the stablecoin space. And then we have a trading limit for the Euroc. And in my humble opinion, a stablecoin is not a crypto, it's not a digital asset. It's just a fiat on a blockchain.
It's a
There's nothing to be
representation.
excited.
Yes.
It's a representation, and it extends the power and the influence of the government into the crypto space. So a lot of our initial ideals are being betrayed by this craze of making stablecoin. But
So
we
you're
have to
talking
support
about
them.
CBDCs, right? More in,
Yeah. The CBDCs are a headache for anyone in the space, right? Because do we want the government to come into this space and control our lives and see where we spend our money? But that's for a different discussion.
Actually, I think
You
you'd be
mentioned,
surprised. I think a lot of governments are very concerned about the privacy aspect. I was just at a CBDC conference last week, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like the central bankers are actually taking privacy very seriously. And you know, there's ways you can abstract private data on
there is an
on a public.
interesting pilot in Israel using CK proof. So zero knowledge, I think, is the way to
Yes,
make
yeah,
this happen.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. I'm
Does
aware of
Hedera
that
have
one.
any zero knowledge things going on?
No, I think it's at the improvement Hedera improvement proposal level right now. So
Mhm.
it's not live as far as I know. So I think there is a proposal in the works, but I
How
don't
does
have.
this work at Hedera? How many people are involved in bringing proposals and deciding on them? If you can give me
So
a sense of
anyone
scope.
anyone in the community can actually make a proposal. I think it's quite similar to the Ethereum improvement proposals as well. So community can author it,
Mhm.
uh, and yeah, it will get uh, it will get prioritized based on the support it gets. I think the important ones, the very core level ones, will have to be decided upon by our governing council. They actually review the very core ones. And
And
for the
this
ones that are a little
govern
bit more minor and not need that level of review.
and this governing council is made up of big enterprises mostly. Is that correct?
Mainly, yes. We are also bringing on more crypto native ones. For example, Chainlink is one of them. So it's not
Yeah.
just big enterprises, but this is a lot of big tech companies. We have Google, IBM, LG, several banks. So we have many different verticals represented.
Keyword LG. Let's talk about something more fun. Let's talk about NFTs and gaming. You have some important news from the Asian continent about Hedera and NFTs. Tell us about it.
Right, right. So yes, LG is one of our governing council member. We've been working closely with them for a couple of years now, and they recently, I mean, that's a few days ago, announced that the LG TV division was going to launch an NFT marketplace, which actually it's already live. And so that's available for users in the United States. And
So what
so
would I
there,
do? I get an LG smart TV and then I
Mhm.
click on the NFT marketplace button. And then
Yes, you
what?
can get into that. It's going to be it's like an app in the smart TV, and you can go in and view the first drop. The first drop is happening on September 22nd. So they've taken a slightly different approach from the other NFT marketplaces. You're not going to find any like pixelated art there. You're going to see curated um, contemporary art from relatively well-known artists. So the first drop is going to be by very acclaimed New York-based sculptor Barry X Bull, and it's never done an NFTs before. So I'm quite excited for that one.
I need to get a contact from you on that. I have a huge number of artist friends who want to get into the NFT space and be on a smart TV. Congratulations on that one. I thought we were going to open our LG TVs and have Bored Apes on them. It's a relief to have real art as NFTs. It's a
Yes,
complete relief.
and you don't necessarily need to have a LG TV. You can also it's also accessible by web and mobile for those who don't. But it looks very nice on the nice LG OLED.
Mhm. So for them, it's a sales driver, obviously, getting into digital assets and Hedera as another feature for the already excellent TVs.
And it can
You're
be
also
a
into
really nice
gaming.
use of a display, right? Imagine you don't really need to
I
have
just bought one. I just bought an
paintings on
OLED
your wall.
screen.
You just have the paintings on your TV.
Yes. Yes, I was torn between a very expensive one and then just get an LG monitor, which is big enough for my room, and hook up my Apple TV, and it looks fantastic. The picture quality is amazing. You're also having you have some news about gaming, the gaming space, right?
Yes, gaming space. We're getting some nice traction in the gaming space too. I think one of the reasons is we have very low transaction fees and high throughput, and that's needed in gaming use cases, right? Because you can have a lot of transactions, and if things don't go smoothly, it really impacts the user experience. So there's a few games. Some are already live. So we work with a Korean game studio called Nada Digital. They released a play-to-earn game that has quite a lot of users already. It's called Slime World. So that's a very cute casual one. But we also have
It's called Slime World.
Slime World, yes.
Slime World. Okay, is it Slinky Slimies running around the screen, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
I
But we
have to
also
try
that's
that.
one end of the spectrum, like the cute, like fun ones. But we also have one that's very anticipated is a AAA game called Ashfall. That's very beautifully done. So I'm really looking forward to that being live. It's by a company called Lithus.
I wish I had more time for gaming, but I need to check that out. Ashfall. It sounds a bit dark. Ashfall.
Yeah, it's like an end of the
Is it?
world type.
Oh,
Game.
who wouldn't want to play a game about the end of the world in the current climate?
I think this is a typical survival skill that we need to have.
We need to have a survival skill, yes. The I want to talk about the thing that we can talk about. You and I are in exactly the same position. There's a million things going on at Uphold, and I'm sure at Hedera that we are not allowed to talk about yet. But give us a tiny glimpse into what's going on in Hedera use cases, the ones that you can mention. About, do you do anything with food tracing or tracking or warehousing or all the things where the real economy touches your project?
Right. Real
Give
world
us some
use
alpha
cases.
here.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Some of the interesting ones. I mean, that one is already public, but we've done some work with drones as well.
With
Traffic control for
drones.
drones. Yes. So it's
Traffic.
a company.
Do tell more. The traffic control. So you tell the
Yes,
drones where they can go and where they cannot go.
well, the airspace, when it gets very crowded if you have drones, and it is like there needs to be some coordination so that the drones don't run into each other, don't disrupt, air traffic or others, right? So drone traffic in some countries is actually quite restricted, and that's the case in the UK, where this company called Neuron actually came up with a way to track the drones using Hedera. So they're using signals. There's communication between the drones and the land through
An ATC,
through
air traffic control system. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So this is a kind of I would say high throughput use case.
But we will look into the NFTs and its staking and everything else that's associated. We've been following Hedera. We have a huge Hedera following. It keeps popping up in the top 5 traded asset almost every week. So we've got XRP, XDC, and Hedera always in the top 5.
Oh, amazing! That's great
months
to hear.
Already.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
No, I think we're
having
a really good year. I mean, actually, past 2 years have been kind of ramping up steadily, and of course, the market may be challenging, but I'm not seeing any slowdown in terms of building. If anything, I think at times like these is when projects actually kind of look back at the fundamentals and look at reliability, look at security and performance, and I mean, I think I may not be overstating when I say we tick all those boxes. So in that respect, and also I'm looking a lot into more regulated use cases, like more fintech, and all these attributes are important.
Absolutely, fully agree. This is our
Governance is
roadmap
important.
too.
So,
Yes, very much.
yeah.
As this year has taught us, for many investors very painfully, that without accountability and governments and proper regulation, this space cannot move ahead. Listen, Sabrina, thank you very much for this update on Hedera. Um, is there anything big coming up in the next few months that we need to do another webinar
Yes.
about?
Yes,
Maybe in the
I think
American West Coast evening time zone?
yes, I think we should do another one to cover more of the exciting stuff that we have a lot going on in NFTs, metaverse, GameFi. That I can't even do it. I can't do it justice because I also don't spend as much time as some of my colleagues. So I'd love for you to have one of my colleagues give a slightly more, um, I would say, a consumer-focused take on what Hedera does, because I know we're very known in the enterprise space, but it's a little bit of a misconception now that we've grown our ecosystem also across the board.
Is this drive to I'm observing this everywhere. I'm talking to all these projects on a regular basis. And one of the key elements of this year was moving into all these different sectors, like gaming, like DeFi, like NFTs. Is that driven by requests from the community? Does the community want that from every project, or where's the move coming from?
I think a lot of those trends are, like also developers get influenced by what's being popular. And yeah, community. I think there's been a lot of growth around NFTs, like in the past year, and then now around DAOs, and so I guess trends are pervasive to the entire industry. But I'm also seeing those are more I would say retail oriented, consumer oriented. I'm also seeing some interesting trends in the more regulated space, like true, we're like still ramping up on the DeFi space, but I'm seeing good activity in the institutional DeFi space. And I think Hedera will be a really good match for that. So if you look at,
we need to talk more about this behind closed doors. We're also working on some institutional DeFi.
Oh, I would
surprise
love to
you.
hear about this. Yeah.
Okay, let's put another appointment on the list, Sabrina. Are you building your own metaverse? Do you have your own metaverse?
So again, we are providing the tools for things. We're not really brand anything Hedera, metaverse, but we have several very cool metaverse related projects.
Maybe we could do the next webinar in the metaverse. I have a fantastic.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah.
My avatar is far better looking than me. Let's do it in the metaverse then.
You should check out one of the projects called Hyper that's building on Hedera, and it's a
Hyper-real? Real isn't wrong?
Hyper-real, yes. It's a 3D engine that looks more real than you. The avatars are insane.
Is it like NVIDIA's Unreal Engine? Or
it's very similar, yes. In terms of the rendering, is very, very realistic.
I love those. A friend of mine from a different project, he uses the Unreal Engine, and he did an avatar. And people look at it when I showed them, and at first glance on the iPhone, it just looks like a real person. It's amazing. We're going to put all the actors, the Hollywood actors, out of work.
Models and actors are going to be out of work soon. Well, think about it, like
a lot of challenges.
Movies with a young, maybe an older actor, and like in his young days, and then just make him age as he goes. Like you won't have any of the limitations that you had anymore. Right?
Yeah. Looking forward to this. Let's plan this. Let's do a webinar in the metaverse next time in a month or two about Hedera's metaverse and NFT projects. Sabrina, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. It must be late for you in Singapore. I leave you to your family. Thank you very much for joining us, and hope to
Thank you,
see you back
Martin.
soon on Uphold.
It was a great pleasure to be here. And thank
Thank
you
you. Bye
for
bye.
the Uphold community for tuning in. Bye bye.